How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Big Ball Shooting. I don't know how long I've been doing this, probably like a year or so. I got another channel, Big Ball Vlogs, and I keep making newbie mistakes. I already shot an intro for this, but I got to reshoot it because of some technical difficulties. Yeah. Anyway, today's video is going to be about modifying my Glock pistols. I'm going against my long time standing that I would never modify my Glocks. I will keep them all stock. After shooting more and shooting pistols with different trigger pulls, I decided that I was going to upgrade my triggers in both of my Glocks so that I get a better or a lighter trigger pull. I've been watching a lot of videos online and just trying to see what guys are doing about cleaning up their Glock triggers, and a lot of guys are saying, hey, just drop in a 3.5 connector and you'll be good to go. So I did some research online and I found this 3.5 connector. This is called the Avenger Ghost Avenger connector. Pretty cool connector. I don't know if you can see a picture of it, but I'm definitely not pulling back out of the gun. There you go. And I also bought it as a combo. So I bought it with a tuning spring kit, and this is the Wolf Defense tuning spring kit that I picked up. And I'll leave descriptions for these. I'll leave links for these in the description below. This included a 6-pound firing pin spring, a 6-pound trigger spring, and a reduced firing pin safety spring. And it's made for self-defense. They also had like a competition spring set, but that's not reliable for carry or duty, so don't put that in your gun unless you're going to just use it for the range. Probably not safe. So the reason I did this modification is because of my Glock 30. Like I said, more recently I've been shooting more, and I've been shooting a lot more 9. And then when I go to shoot this Glock 30, the trigger pull was just ridiculously hard. It felt like it was like 10 pounds plus. It felt harder than my AR trigger pull. It's definitely harder than any of my other pistol trigger pulls, so I thought I would lighten that up. I bought two. I bought one for the 19 and I bought one for the 30, and they were really inexpensive. The whole package for the springs and the connector was like $17 each. So let's get into doing this modification. Clean, no magazine, empty. So what we're gonna do is you gotta disassemble a pistol. If you're not familiar with how to disassemble a Glock pistol, again, do some research, because if you don't know the basics, you probably shouldn't be doing this. There are some things in here when you take this apart that throw the springs out of your gun, and then you have to go looking for them. But what we do is we definitely check the pistol for safeness and make sure it's empty. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop the trigger, drop the firing pin, slightly pull back on the slide, grab your slide release, slide off the slide. Now we're gonna have to do 2 modifications with this. We're gonna actually have to modify the receiver or the frame, and we're gonna have to modify the slide to change out the springs and slide. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the camera around so you can see me do it and walk you through it step by step. Second though, I'm not gonna turn the camera around. I'm gonna just tilt the camera down. So this is a Gen 2 Glock. Gen 2 Glocks only had 2 pins. They had a pin here in the back. You can't see through my stippling, but it's in there somewhere. And then you got a pin right here. This pin holds down the lock block in the front end of your rails, and this pin holds down the trigger block in the back. So we got to remove those pins. This pin can be more difficult at times to remove the front pin, because it's actually holding in your mag catch. And if your mag catch is kind of like shifted forward, it will lock onto this little step or ring in the pin and prevent it from moving out. So what you got to do is you kind of got to move that I'll show you on camera. You kind of got to move around that magazine catch to kind of make sure that the pin itself doesn't get caught on the lip or edge of that mag catch. So what I usually do is I use like a block tape or something like this, and I will remove this pin first. And I'm going to remove this pin because I had a less worn mag catch that I'm probably going to drop in. Actually, I'm not going to probably drop in. I am going to drop in. Put that in there. And what you do is you take your 3/30 seconds punch, and you want to kind of push these out from, I guess it would go, I don't know, it might come out from either left or right. I've never tried it, but I usually try to push it out from the left because the, as I said, the mag catch is right here on the left side of the pistol. So if I can get it past that mag catch, I know I'm good. So I usually push it out from the left to the right using a roll of tape, and depending on how, sometimes it's gonna be stiff, you can sometimes just push it out, that's not gonna come out. I just saw that it kind of like locked in there. Actually, let me move that magazine catch again. So, oh, yep, move that magazine catch, slid it a little bit forward, and it pushed right out the back. All right, so now that we got that out, I'm gonna pull that out, put it to the side for a sec. I'm gonna do the same thing with the back pin. And like I said, that one's a little bit smaller, and that's where this tiny pin might come in. I mean, this tiny punch might come in more handy, because I stippled this, which means that the hole isn't exactly round anymore to get your 3/32 punch in. I'm gonna put that in there, and I'm gonna just give it a little push, and that was simple. Comes right out of the back. All right, so I'm gonna slide that out the back and put that to the side. So now that you have those out, if you just wanted to change out the springs here, you might not have to do this. You might be able to just pull out this trigger assembly block in the back by removing this pin. It will pivot up, and you'll have the trigger bar here still locked in, but you should be able to pivot it up and work with it without having to remove all 3 or 2 pins. But since we've done it, now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the locking block, and all you got to do is get something underneath of it. Don't have to force it, just get it up enough that you can pull it up and pull it out. All right, and now we're going to do the same thing with this back here. We're going to just grab it somewhere and wiggle it out. For me, it's actually being, oh no, it actually wasn't that hard. So just give it a little pull, and boom, slides right up and out. And if you pull on it, the whole trigger assembly will come out. And like I said, I'm going to replace this. So I'm going to put that to the side, and we're going to keep the new one here for when we put it back. All right, so let's get into replacing the parts here that we want to replace. So the connector that you want to replace, it is on the right side of this block, and it is right here. Connector is right here behind the trigger bar here. So to get that out, all you gotta do is kind of pull forward. It's got the actual spring that I want to replace in there too. The spring is on the back there. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, there, it's right there. So all you gotta do is kind of pull forward on it, rotate it in, and boom, it'll pop out. And then we disconnect it from the back. Disconnect the spring. Disconnecting the spring can be difficult, but just take your time. And there you go. And to get your connector out on the back side, you can on this one it might be, it's not as probably as easy as my Gen 3, but you just gotta push that little pin there out. So I'm gonna use the small punch again. I'm gonna get it in there, and I'm just gonna give it a push. You might be able to pull it out from the front. I want to give it a push just to get it out away from the block itself. See how it's coming out right there, sliding out, push it to a point where you can grab it and pull it out. Here's the new polished Ghost Avenger. All right, I'm gonna put that back in the same way we took the last one out. This is getting really long because I'm getting long-winded with it. You find that little slot there, just pushing it. And it is going to stick out away from the block itself a little bit. You can see there's some space behind it. That is normal. You don't have to try to bend it. You haven't bent it. It's supposed to be that way. So now that we've done that, let's put that to the side. Let's go get our trigger, and let's change out the trigger spring. So we got our trigger out here. We're going to put the new 6-pound trigger spring on it. And that should be pretty simple. So I'm going to get that to focus real quick. I'm going to take the spring. I'm just going to loop it around the back here. Actually, we're going to loop it from the back side in. There you go. So now you got that in. You're going to go back and get trigger block, and you're going to take this end of the spring. It's kind of hard to get this thing focused all the time. Do it this way. You're going to take this end of the spring, and you're going to loop it through that hole in the back there. It is now connected, and what you got to do now is you just got to put it back together the way you took it apart. So you want to just pull forward a little bit to get that little T arm underneath or inside that little slot there, and boom, there you go. It's all assembled and ready to go back together. I'll see if I can do this on camera because I'm doing it backwards. So you find that little groove there. You can see where it's going. Find that little groove and slide it in like that. And when you slide it in, you should be able to see through the hole that the mag catches in. And if you can see now, and that's what I was telling you about when you're pushing the pin out, how that little notch there is moving when I do this. That's the notch that your pin is going to get held up on. And that's how you get the pin out easier. Just moving it a little bit like that will move that notch around and get that lip out of the way so you can get the pin back in. All right, modification done. So let's put that to the side. So now we're going to modify the firing pin spring and the firing pin safety spring. Now to remove this back plate here, it's pretty simple. You got to get inside the frame. You got to get inside the slide. Let's see if I can get that down on there. And right behind this firing pin catch, there's a little piece of plastic right down in there. That piece of plastic is the firing pin centering shim, I guess you call it. I'm not sure of the technical names for these parts, but you'll see when I get it out. Now to get this back cap off, you got to do two things. You got to press this down. You got to press this down. If I can get that to focus on, let's see if I can get it to focus. So you got to get a pin in there and you got to press that down like that. And when you press that down, you should be able to slide this cap off, but you want to keep your hand over it because the actual extractor spring is behind that and that might go flying out on you. The punch behind that little piece of plastic in the back, like I told you about, press down and slide the back cap off. As you can see it slide, well you can't see it sliding off pretty easy. And once it's down halfway, now you can take the punch out, put your hand over it, and you'll hear the extractor spring snap up a little bit, and then take the cap out. So now you got the cap out. This is that little piece of plastic that you were pushing down on. We're gonna pull out the firing pin. Slide the whole thing out like that. There's your firing pin. You're gonna remove your extractor plunger here. And then you're gonna come around here and you're gonna remove your extractor. Remove your extractor, depress the firing pin safety for a sec. And then simply just pull up and out on the extractor, like so. So I can get my hands on it. And it slides right out. Now once you've done that, keep a hold on that so that doesn't go flying on you, and then just pull that right out, like so. Okay, so the first thing we're going to replace is the firing pin safety spring. And that's it, sticking out the back there. So now we got to change out the firing pin spring. This one is also something that you got to do kind of with two hands, and be careful when you're doing it because there are little parts here that will drop or go flying if you don't keep a hold of this. Not that difficult, but you just got to be careful. So in order to change this spring, what you got to do is you got to pull back the spring. And when you pull back the spring, there are two halves to this little retainer here, and they're going to fall out once you pull back the spring. So make sure you do this over an area where you can find the two halves when you do it. So it's sort of easier if you put it down on a table like this and do it, because then you can kind of put it down, hold it down, and take the two halves out like I'm doing right here. Get them out, put them on the table. And now the firing pin spring will come out over top of the firing pin. I'm going to grab the new firing pin spring, put it back over top the firing pin, and it's kind of, this roll of tape should help too, because the firing pin will slide back always to the table, making it harder if you push this spring all the way down. So use that roll of tape again to hold that little firing pin lever there down, and just grab that spring again and press it all the way back like so. Grab the two halves of the retainer, put them back in place. Try to do it fast because this spring wants to go flying. And once you got it, slide it forward and it's back together. Alright, so that modification is done. And then you just put it back together like you did in the reverse the steps of taking it apart. And you are good. Slide back on the frame and check for function. And there you go. Alright, so after the modification, yeah, I mean, I tested it. Does, especially with the Glock 30. By the way, if you didn't see it, these were disassembled, so I know they're clear. But just for internet police purposes, this no magazine chamber is empty. Yeah, so the Glock 30, the trigger pull is a lot better. Like, I feel it being a lot lighter than it was before, and it feels like it breaks a lot cleaner. I actually almost bought another gun yesterday, an FN9 CS all in the gun store, and I just love that trigger. I've also had other guns with amazing triggers on them. I think they're amazing triggers, and you know, you don't get that, but you get a better, lighter break on this one. You still got that take up in there, and it's not as smooth as some of the other triggers, but I like it. So hey, $17 Glock trigger modification. I know a lot of you guys spend a lot of money modifying your Glocks. This is probably the only modification I'll ever do to any of my Glocks, because I like to keep them stock. And while it's not actually stock Glock parts, it is a stock modification. You're just dropping in a lighter, something that Glock offers, which is a lighter connector and lighter trigger springs. So hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the vlog. I will get back to you soon. Talk to you later. Bye.